Commander Ethan Miller stood at the large window of Earth Defense Force headquarters. His eyes were fixed on the stars above. The room behind him was filled with noise. People ran from desk to desk. Screens flashed with alerts. But Miller stood, still, his face showing no emotion. "Commander, they're getting closer." Lieutenant Olivia Grant walked up beside him. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook as she handed him the report. Miller took the paper without looking. "How many ships?" 37 in the main group. Scouts report at least 100 more behind them. Miller finally turned from the window. The command center was in chaos. He had trained for this day, but he never really believed it would come. First contact with an alien race, and they were not friendly. "Put the main ship on screen," he ordered. The large display at the front of the room changed. Everyone stopped and stared. The alien ship was massive. It was dark gray with red lights along its sides. The shape reminded Miller of the old stories, about dragons with a long body and what looked like wings extending from the sides. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message. Should I play it?" Miller nodded. The room fell silent as the alien's face appeared on screen. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. Its skin was scaled, with a ridge of bone where eyebrows would be. Eyes that were solid yellow stared out at them. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Vexor of the Draconian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. You will surrender all resources and accept your place as subjects of the Empire. You have 72 of your Earth hours to comply. Resistance will result in your planet's destruction." The message ended. The room stayed quiet for several seconds. "Get me Ambassador Wilson," Miller said, breaking the silence. "And contact Dr. Peters at Project Aegis. Tell him it's time." Susan Wilson straightened her jacket as she prepared to face the aliens. As Earth's senior diplomat, this was her responsibility. The meeting would take place on the neutral ground of the International Space Station. She had been rushed there on the fastest available shuttle. "Ambassador, the Draconian representative has docked," her assistant told her. Wilson nodded. "Let's hope they're better at talking than threatening." The door slid open. A tall Draconian entered the room. Unlike Admiral Vexor, this one had blue markings on its face. "I am Sevnak, voice of the Empire," the alien said without greeting. "Ambassador Susan Wilson, representing Earth. We wish to discuss alternatives to conflict." The alien made a sound that might have been a laugh. "There is nothing to discuss. You are primitive. We are advanced. This is the natural order. We are younger than your civilization, yes," Wilson said carefully. "But we are quick learners. We would make better allies than slaves. You have nothing to offer the Empire. Your technology is basic. Your weapons are toys compared to ours. The only value your planet has is its resources and perhaps some of your people as labor." Wilson tried for 3 hours to find common ground. The Draconian would not budge. "Your 72 hours are still counting down, Ambassador," Sevnak said as he stood to leave. "I suggest you spend them saying goodbye to your world as you know it." After the alien left, Wilson contacted Earth immediately. "Commander Miller, negotiations have failed. They won't listen to reason." "I didn't expect they would," Miller's voice came through. "Return to Earth. We're moving to Plan B." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Alan Peters worked frantically in a lab built inside an old submarine base. Around him, 20 of Earth's best scientists checked equipment and ran tests. "The calibration is still off," Jack Russell said, looking up from his computer. The quantum physicist had been working nonstop for 2 days. "Keep trying," Peters said. "Kate, how's the AI integration coming?" Kate Brown didn't look up from her screen. "I've got the prediction algorithms running at 87% accuracy. It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do with the time we have." Peters walked to the center of the lab where a strange device sat on a platform. It looked simple from the outside, just a metal cube about 3 feet across with glowing blue lines running through it. But inside was technology no human had designed. 3 years ago, Peters and his colleague Dr. Lisa Turner had found the cube deep in an ocean trench. It was clearly artificial but not made by human hands. Since then, Project Aegis had been trying to understand how it worked. Lisa, any change in the energy output? Peters asked. Dr. Turner shook her head. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. Since losing her husband in the first test accident, she had thrown herself into the work. It's stable, but we still don't fully understand how it affects space-time. The models break down at full power. A screen on the wall lit up. Commander Miller's face appeared. Doctor, what's your status? We're close, Commander. The prototype is ready for installation on the orbital platforms, but I have to be honest. We've never tested it at full scale. We don't know exactly what will happen. And if we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen, Miller replied. The first Draconian ships have already entered Earth orbit. Our conventional defenses won't last an hour against them. Peters looked around at his team. They were tired, scared, but determined. We'll be ready. The transport can take the device to the launch site in 3 hours. You have 2, Miller said. And Doctor, good luck to all of us. Lieutenant Grant studied the readings on her screen. Something about the Draconian ships didn't make sense. Commander, she called out, I'm detecting unusual energy fluctuations from the alien fleet. Their shield patterns keep changing. Miller looked over her shoulder. What does it mean? I'm not sure, but it might be a weakness. Their technology seems to have trouble adjusting to our planet's magnetic field. Before Miller could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. Sir, the Draconians have launched fighters. They're not waiting for the deadline. On the main screen, they watched as dozens of smaller ships left the main fleet and headed toward Earth. They must have detected the orbital platforms being moved into position, Miller said. Contact Dr. Peters. Tell him we need that device now. In the underwater lab, the message from command came through just as they were preparing the device for transport. They're attacking early, Peters told his team. We need to move now. But the calibrations aren't complete, Russell protested. No time, Peters decided. Kate, upload the latest algorithms. Lisa, lock in the current settings. We go with what we have. As the team rushed to finish, Peters stepped away and looked at a photo on his desk. It showed Earth from space, beautiful, blue, and now in terrible danger. He had no idea if their plan would work or make things worse. The cube technology was still largely a mystery. Transport is ready, Doctor, an officer called from the door. Peters took one last look around the lab. Let's go save our world, he said, hoping he sounded more confident than he felt. As they loaded the device onto the transport, news came in that the first Draconian fighters had entered Earth's atmosphere. Cities around the world were reporting attacks. The clock was ticking, and humanity's last hope was a piece of alien technology they barely understood. The transport carrying Dr. Peters and the alien device flew low over the Pacific Ocean. Fighter jets escorted it on all sides. In the distance, the sky glowed orange where a Draconian attack had hit Los Angeles. ETA to launch site is 12 minutes, the pilot announced. Peters looked at the metal cube strapped down in the center of the transport. The blue lines running through it pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. He thought back to the day they had found it 3 years ago. It seemed like another lifetime. He and Lisa Turner had been in a research submarine, studying deep ocean vents. Their instruments had detected an unusual energy signature coming from a nearby trench. When they investigated, they found the cube sitting on a ledge as if someone had placed it there. It wasn't covered in sea life or rust. It looked brand new. You're thinking about the day we found it, aren't you? Lisa said, sitting down next to him. Peters nodded. Hard to believe that was only 3 years ago. Sometimes I wonder if we should have left it down there. And let the Draconians destroy us without a fight? Lisa shook her head. We've made the right choice. Have we? We still don't understand how it works. The tests we ran in the lab were on a tiny scale. Now we're about to use it against an entire fleet. Lisa didn't answer. They both knew there was no other option. The transport landed at a military base near the coast. They rushed the device to a waiting rocket. Time was running out. Above them, Earth's conventional defenses were failing against the Draconian fighters. As they prepared the launch, Kate Brown approached Peters with her tablet. I've been reviewing the data from our last test, she said. I think I know why the device creates space-time distortions. It's not bending space, it's folding it. What's the difference? Peters asked as he helped secure the device in the rocket's payload. Think of space like a piece of paper. Bending it brings 2 points closer together, but folding it makes those points touch directly, with no distance between them. And you think that's what the cube does? Kate nodded, but I don't know what happens to whatever is caught in the fold. Their conversation was cut short by an explosion nearby. A Draconian fighter had broken through and was attacking the base. "We need to launch now," Peters shouted. The countdown began as they ran for cover. The rocket ignited just as another explosion rocked the base. Peters watched as their last hope climbed into the sky, praying it would reach its destination. Commander Miller stood in what remained of the Earth Defense Force Command Center. Half the building had been destroyed in the attack. Emergency lights cast red shadows across the faces of his remaining staff. "Status of the orbital platforms?" he asked. Lieutenant Grant checked her tablet. "Platforms 1 and 2 are online and in position. Platform 3 was damaged but is still functional. The rocket with the device is approaching Platform 1 now." Miller nodded. He had sent most of his people to underground shelters. Those who remained had volunteered to stay. They all knew this might be their last day. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Draconian flagship," an officer called. Miller straightened his uniform. "Put it through." Admiral Vexer's scaled face appeared on the cracked screen. "Your resistance is pathetic, human. My fighters have destroyed 3 of your major cities. Surrender now and I may spare the rest." "We still have time on your deadline," Miller replied calmly. "The deadline has changed. You have 1 hour to surrender, or we will begin systematic destruction of all population centers." The screen went black. Miller turned to Lieutenant Grant. "How long until the device is installed?" 45 minutes at best, sir." Miller closed his eyes for a moment. "Then we need to buy time. Contact all remaining air forces. I want everything we have left attacking that flagship." "Sir, that's a suicide mission." "I know." Miller picked up a helmet. "And I'll be leading it myself." On orbital platform 1, Jack Russell worked frantically to install the device. He had been sent up a week earlier to prepare the platform, but nothing had gone as planned. The attack had come too soon. "Radio check," he said into his helmet mic. "Dr. Peters, do you read me?" "I read you, Jack." Peters' voice came through with static. "How's the installation going?" "I've got the physical mounting done, but I'm having trouble with the power coupling. This thing draws more energy than we anticipated. Reroute from the station's life support if you have to. That device is more important than any of us now." Russell worked as fast as he could in the bulky spacesuit. Outside the platform's window he could see Earth. Parts of it were dark where power had been lost. Other areas glowed with fires from the attacks. "Connection established," he finally reported. "Power levels rising. The device is online." "Good work. Kate is sending you the activation sequence now. Platforms 2 and 3 are also ready." Russell received the data and began the final preparations. As he worked, he noticed something on his radar screen. "Dr. Peters, I'm picking up multiple objects approaching the platform. I think they've figured out what we're doing." "How long? Until you can activate the device?" Russell checked the progress bar on his screen. 4 minutes, but I don't think we have that long." Miller led 12 fighters toward the Draconian flagship. It was massive, easily 20 times the size of Earth's largest aircraft carrier. Its hull was covered in weapons that fired continuous beams of energy at anything that came close. "All pilots, this is Commander Miller. Our job is distraction, not destruction. Keep their attention for as long as possible." The small squadron split into pairs, attacking from different angles. They knew they couldn't harm the flagship, but every second they kept the Draconians busy was another second for the orbital platforms to activate. Miller's fighter took a hit to the wing. Warning lights flashed across his control panel. He ignored them and pushed the aircraft closer to the alien ship. "Sir," Lieutenant Grant's voice came through his radio. "Platform 1 reports Draconian fighters incoming. They need more time." "How much more?" 3 minutes. Miller made a decision. All pilots, new target. Form up on me. We're going to ram the flagship's main weapon array. No one questioned the order. They formed up behind him and accelerated toward the largest weapon on the Draconian ship. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Miller said as they approached. Just before impact, Miller's radio crackled. "Commander, the device is active. All platforms reporting energy surge." Miller pulled up hard, his fighter missing the flagship by meters. "All pilots, break off. I repeat, break off attack." Through his cockpit window, he saw a strange shimmer in space like heat waves rising from hot pavement. It started around the orbital platforms and spread outward. The effect reached the Draconian fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, ship by ship, they began to vanish. No explosions, no debris. They simply disappeared as the wave passed through them. Miller watched in amazement as the entire Draconian fleet, over 200 ships, vanished without a trace. "Command, are you seeing this?" he asked. There was a long pause before Lieutenant Grant responded. "Yes, sir. They're gone. All of them." Miller turned his damaged fighter back toward Earth. Whatever they had done with that alien device, it had worked. But as relief washed over him, a new worry formed. What exactly had they done? And what would happen next? The world celebrated. In every city that remained standing, people filled the streets. They hugged strangers and wept with joy. Humanity had faced extinction and somehow survived. But in a secure conference room beneath what was left of Washington, D.C., the mood was different. Commander Miller sat at a long table with Dr. Peters, Ambassador Wilson, and the highest-ranking government officials who had survived the attack. "So you're telling us you don't know what happened to the Draconian fleet?" the president asked, looking directly at Dr. Peters. Peters ran a hand through his messy hair. He hadn't slept in 3 days. "We know the device worked. The fleet is gone. But exactly where they went or what happened to them? No, we don't know that." "Could they come back?" Ambassador Wilson asked. "Possibly. The device created what Kate Brown calls a space-time fold. Think of it as taking a piece of paper, folding it, and having an object slip between the fold to somewhere else. So they could be in another dimension? Another part of space?" Miller asked. "Or they could have been destroyed completely when the fold collapsed. We simply don't have enough data to know for sure." The president stood up and walked to a map on the wall showing the damage from the Draconian attack. Major cities on every continent had been hit. Millions were dead or missing. "We need to know if they're coming back, and we need to be ready." "If they do," she said. Miller nodded. "I agree. But we should also consider something else." The rest of the galaxy saw what happened. They saw an advanced alien fleet vanish when they attacked Earth. Right now, every spacefaring race out there is wondering what weapon we have. "We should use that," Ambassador Wilson said. "The fear of what we might do could be our best protection." "Except we can't do it again," Peters admitted. "The device burned out after activation. The cube is just a dead piece of metal now." Silence fell over the room as they absorbed this information. "Then we make sure no one knows that," the president decided. "Commander Miller, you'll lead our new space defense force. Ambassador Wilson, I want you ready for any contact from other alien races. And Dr. Peters, I need you to keep studying that cube. Find out how it worked and if we can make another one." 1 month later, Kate Brown sat alone in the lab, staring at her computer screen. The rest of the team had gone home hours ago, but she couldn't tear herself away from the data. The door opened. Dr. Peters walked in holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're still here," he said, putting 1 cup beside her. "Find anything?" Kate took the coffee gratefully. "Maybe. I've been analyzing the energy readings from when the device activated. There's a pattern I didn't notice before." She pulled up a graph on her screen. "See these spikes? They're repeating at regular intervals even after the Draconian fleet disappeared." Peters leaned closer. "What does that mean?" "I think the fold didn't close completely. There's still a connection between our space and wherever the fleet went. It's very weak, but it's there." "Could they use it to come back?" Kate shook her head. Not as far as I can tell, but what? I found something else. She typed a command, and a new window opened on her screen. It showed a signal pattern. This started 3 days ago. It's coming through the fold. I think it's a transmission. Peter stared at the pattern. From the Draconians? I believe so. I've been trying to decode it, but it's not easy. Have you told anyone else about this? Kate shook her head. Not yet. I wanted to be sure. Peters pulled up a chair and sat beside her. Let's see if we can figure out what they're saying. Jack. Russell floated in the repair pod, working on the damaged orbital platform. After the battle, he had been asked to stay in space to help with repairs and to monitor for any signs of the Draconians returning. His radio crackled. Platform 1, this is Earth Control. We're picking up an energy reading near your position. Can you confirm? Russell checked his instruments. Negative, Earth Control. All readings normal here. Strange. Our sensors show something about 20 kilometers from your position. We're sending you the coordinates. Russell received the data and adjusted his pod's course. As he moved away from the platform, he felt uneasy. Space seemed darker than usual, the stars less bright. After 15 minutes, he reached the coordinates. There was nothing visible, but his instruments showed a small distortion in space. Earth Control. I'm at the location. There's some kind of spatial anomaly here, but it's very small, about the size of a baseball. Can you take readings? Russell aimed his instruments at the anomaly. It's giving off the same energy signature as the cube did, but much weaker. It's almost like a tear in space. As he watched, the anomaly pulsed and grew slightly larger. Earth Control, the anomaly is expanding. Request instructions. There was a pause before they responded. Return to the platform, Russell. We're sending a research team up. Russell turned his pod around, but before he could move away, the anomaly pulsed again. This time a beam of light shot out of it. The light hit Russell's pod, scanning it from top to bottom. Earth Control, something's happening. The anomaly just scanned me. Before Earth Control could respond, the anomaly collapsed in on itself and vanished. Russell's heart pounded in his chest. It's gone. The anomaly disappeared. Return to base immediately, Earth Control ordered. As Russell piloted his pod back to the platform, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just been examined by something or someone on the other side of that tear in space. Admiral Vexer opened his eyes. He was lying on the floor of his ship's command center. Around him, his crew was also waking up, confused and disoriented. Status report, he demanded, pulling himself to his feet. All systems functional, Admiral, his second-in-command reported. But I don't know where we are. Vexer looked at the main viewport. Outside was not the blackness of space filled with stars. Instead, he saw swirling colors, like a storm of light and energy. Where is the Earth fleet? What happened to the battle? Unknown, Admiral. One moment we were preparing to fire on their planet, the next moment we were here. Vexer growled in frustration. Send scouts. I want to know where we are and how to get back to finish what we started. Sir, scouts were deployed 10 minutes ago. They haven't returned, and we're getting no signal from them. Before Vexer could respond, a light appeared in the center of the command deck. It expanded into a glowing sphere. Within the sphere, an image formed, a human. What is this? Vexor demanded. The image didn't respond. It seemed to be studying them, recording them. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the sphere vanished. Vexor turned to his crew. Prepare all weapons. Whoever brought us here will regret it. The Draconian Empire does not surrender, and it does not forgive. But deep inside, for the first time in his long life, Admiral Vexor felt afraid. What kind of power could move an entire fleet across dimensions? And what did the humans know about it? 2 months after the Draconian fleet vanished, Earth was changing. Countries that had been enemies for decades now worked together. The attacks had shown everyone that human conflicts meant little compared to threats from beyond the stars. Commander Miller, now Admiral Miller, stood in the new Space Defense Command Center built inside Mount Rushmore. Screens showed the positions of Earth's growing defense fleet. Most were small ships built quickly from existing spacecraft, but new designs. "We're coming. Admiral Ambassador Wilson is here to see you," an aide announced. Wilson walked in looking tired but determined. She had spent weeks meeting with representatives from other planets. After the Draconian fleet disappeared, alien trading vessels had approached Earth cautiously. "How did it go with the Arcturian delegation?" Miller asked. "Better than expected. They're impressed by what happened to the Draconians. They've offered to trade some of their shield technology for Earth goods. And do they know we can't repeat what we did?" Wilson shook her head. "No one knows except our highest leaders. To the galaxy, Earth is now a dangerous place with mysterious weapons. No one wants to test us." "Good. We need time to rebuild and advance our technology." Miller pulled up a new screen showing Earth's orbital defenses. "How are the other aliens reacting?" "Most are staying away. A few want alliances. The Galactic Confederation has invited us to send representatives to their next meeting." "The Confederation? I thought they ignored less advanced worlds." "They did. Until we made a Draconian fleet disappear." Wilson smiled slightly. "You should have seen their faces when I told them we weren't ready to share our technology yet." Miller laughed, the first time he had done so in months. Then his communication device beeped. He checked the message and his smile faded. "Dr. Peters needs to see us right away. Something about the cube." Peters and Kate Brown waited in the underground lab. The remains of the alien cube sat on a table between them. Its blue lines no longer glowed. It looked like nothing more than a metal box. "Thank you for coming so quickly," Peters said as Miller and Wilson entered. "What's happened?" Miller asked. Kate spoke up. "Remember the transmission I detected coming through the fold? I've decoded part of it." She turned to her computer and played an audio file. A scratchy voice filled the room. The words were distorted but clearly in English. "Fleet command. To Earth. Position unknown. Preparing return. Revenge will..." The message cut off in static. The room was silent for a moment. "They're alive," Wilson finally said. "And they want to come back." "It gets worse," Peters said. "Show them the new readings, Kate." Kate pulled up a different screen. "We've been monitoring the areas where the fold was strongest. For weeks there was nothing, but 3 days ago we detected this." The screen showed a familiar energy pattern. Small tears in space were appearing around Earth. Most lasted only seconds before closing, but they were growing stronger. "The fold is becoming unstable," Peters explained. "The barrier between our space and wherever the Draconians are is getting thinner." "Are you saying they could come back through these tears?" Miller asked. "Possibly. But there's something else." Peters looked at Kate, who nodded encouragingly. "We think the fold didn't just move the Draconians to another place. It moved them to another time as well." "What do you mean?" Wilson asked. "The signals we're receiving are out of sync. Based on our calculations, only a few months have passed. For us, but for the Draconians, years have passed," Kate finished. "Perhaps decades. They've had time to study the fold to understand it better than we do, and to prepare." Miller stood up straight. "So we could be facing not just the same fleet, but one that's had years to plan their return and improve their weapons?" Peters nodded grimly. "That's our fear." Jack Russell floated outside the space station that had replaced the damaged orbital platforms. Since his encounter with the anomaly, he had been assigned to the new Earth Space Guard. Their job was to watch for any signs of alien activity. His partner, Paul Green, floated beside him as they checked the station's external sensors. "You ever think about what's on the other side?" Green asked. "Where the Draconians went?" "Every day," Russell admitted. "Sometimes I dream about it. A place with strange light and no stars." "You think they're still alive?" "I hope not." Russell tightened a bolt on the sensor array. "But something scanned me that day. Something was looking back." Green was about to respond when their radios crackled. "Station 6 to all units, we're detecting multiple anomalies forming in Sector 12. All available personnel respond." Russell and Green exchanged looks before pushing away from the station and firing their thrusters toward Sector 12. When they arrived, other Space Guard units were already there. In the emptiness of space, 5 glowing tears had formed. They pulsed with the same energy signature as the alien cube. "Hold position," the commander ordered. "Do not approach the anomalies." As they watched, one of the tears expanded. Something began to emerge from it, a small metallic object about the size of a car. "Is that a Draconian ship?" Green asked. "Too small," Russell replied. "Looks more like a probe." The object fully emerged from the tear. It was sleek and clearly artificial. With no markings they recognized. For a moment it did nothing. Then it began scanning the area, sending out beams of light in all directions. "It's mapping our space," Russell realized, "looking for defenses, weaknesses." Before they could report this, the probe suddenly accelerated toward Earth. "All units, intercept that probe!" the commander shouted. Russell and Green fired their thrusters to maximum. Their suits were not designed for combat, but they had to try something. Other Space Guard units did the same, converging on the alien device. The probe detected them coming. It changed course, moving with impossible speed. Then it stopped and sent out a pulse of energy. Russell felt his suit systems failing. Around him, other guards were experiencing the same problem. "It's disabled our electronics," he said into his now-dead radio, knowing no one could hear. The probe resumed its course toward Earth, leaving the helpless humans behind. As it sped away, the tiers in space closed one by one. Green drifted close to Russell. They were both using their emergency oxygen now. "What do we do?" Green asked, his voice barely audible through his helmet. "We wait for rescue," Russell replied, "and we warn them. This was just the beginning." As they floated in space, Russell looked toward Earth. From here it seemed peaceful, unaware of what was coming. The Draconians had sent a probe. Next time it would be more than that. And Earth, despite its victory months ago, might not be ready. Earth changed in the 6 months following the probe incident. Cities damaged in the Draconian attack were rebuilt with new defenses. The Space Guard grew from a few hundred volunteers to thousands of trained soldiers. Nations shared technology and resources with a single goal: survival. Admiral Miller stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, Earth's first true warship. It combined human engineering with technology traded from friendly alien races. The ship wasn't as advanced as a Draconian vessel, but it was a start. "Admiral, all systems are ready for the test," reported his first officer. Miller nodded. "Begin the shield test." Outside the ship, small drones fired energy weapons at the Defender. The shots hit an invisible barrier around the ship and dissipated. "Shields holding at 92% capacity," the officer announced. Miller allowed himself a small smile. 6 months ago, Earth had no shield technology. Now they had a fighting chance. His communication device beeped. "Miller here. Admiral, this is Dr. Peters. We need you at the lab immediately. It's happening." Miller's smile vanished. "On my way." The lab was crowded when Miller arrived. Dr. Peters, Kate Brown, and Ambassador Wilson stood around a large screen showing a map of Earth orbit. Red dots appeared all over the map. "How many?" Miller asked without greeting. 47 tiers detected so far," Peters replied. "They're appearing faster than before. And they're bigger," Kate added. "The largest is almost a kilometer wide." Miller studied the screen. "Any ships coming through?" "Not yet, but our sensors detect movement inside the tiers. Something is gathering on the other side." Ambassador Wilson looked pale. "I've contacted our allies in the Galactic Confederation. They're sending ships, but they won't arrive for days." "We can't wait that long," Miller said. "The defensive fleet needs to deploy now. What about the new weapon?" Peters shook his head. "It's not ready. We've been trying to recreate the effect of the cube, but without the original energy source, it's impossible." Miller looked at the remains of the alien cube, still sitting on its pedestal. For months, the best scientists on Earth had studied it without success. "There has to be something we can do," Miller insisted. Kate had been quiet, staring at her computer screen. Now she looked up. "Maybe there is," We can't recreate the cube's power, but what if we don't need to? What if we use the tiers themselves? What do you mean? Peters asked. The tiers are unstable connections between our space and whatever dimension the Draconians are in. If we could destabilize them further, we could collapse the connection completely, Peters finished, understanding dawning on his face. How do we do that? Miller asked. Kate typed rapidly on her keyboard. The same way you collapse any unstable energy field. You introduce a resonance frequency that amplifies the instability until it falls apart. Like an opera singer shattering a glass, Wilson suggested. Exactly. Kate looked at Miller. But we'd need to place devices at each tier to generate the frequency. Miller nodded. I'll assemble a team. Space around Earth was now filled with small tiers glowing with eerie light. The Earth Defense Fleet positioned ships near each one, watching for any sign of invasion. Aboard the Defender, Miller briefed the pilots who would deliver Kate's devices. Each team will approach a designated tier and place the resonator within 100 meters of it. Once activated, return to your ships immediately. We don't know what will happen when these things go off. Jack Russell, now a lieutenant in the Space Guard, raised his hand. Sir, what if the Draconians come through while we're placing the devices? Then you get out of there and let the fleet handle it. Your mission is the resonators, nothing else. The pilots nodded. They understood the risk. They had all seen what happened to the original Draconian fleet. No one knew what would come through the tiers this time. One more thing, Miller said. Earth is counting on you. Good luck. Russell piloted his small craft toward the largest tier. 2 other pilots flanked him, each carrying backup resonators in case his failed. The tier pulsed with energy, growing slightly with each pulse. Approaching target, Russell reported. No activity detected yet. He slowed his craft and prepared to deploy the resonator. As he did, the tier suddenly expanded. A massive shape began to emerge. Contact! We have contact! Russell shouted into his radio. Draconian ship coming through Tier 7. The shape solidified into a warship unlike any they had seen before. It was larger than the previous Draconian vessels, with weapons covering its surface. All units fall back, Miller's voice ordered through the radio. Defense fleet, engage the enemy. Russell hesitated. His mission was to place the resonator, but the Draconian ship was now between him and the tier. Lieutenant Russell, what's your status? Miller asked. Russell made a decision. Proceeding with mission, sir. He pushed his craft forward, accelerating, toward the tier. The Draconian ship detected him and fired. Energy beams passed close to his craft, but he kept going. More tiers expanded. More Draconian ships appeared. The space around Earth was quickly filling with enemy vessels. Russell reached the tier and deployed the resonator. It floated toward the glowing edge of the spatial distortion. Resonator in position, he reported. Activating now. The device lit up and began emitting waves of energy that matched the tier's pulsations. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the tier's pulses became erratic. All around Earth, other pilots were doing the same thing. Resonators approached, each tier fighting against Draconian attacks. 60% of resonators deployed, Kate's voice announced over the command channel. We need at least 80% for this to work. Russell watched as his resonator's effect on the tier grew, stronger. The edges of the spatial distortion wavered and bent inward. The Draconian ships seemed to realize what was happening. They turned their attention from Earth to the resonators, destroying several with concentrated fire. We're losing them, someone shouted over the radio. Russell saw his chance. The Draconian ship near him had turned to attack another resonator. He took manual control of his device and guided it deeper into the tier. Russell, what are you doing? Miller demanded. Improving the resonance, sir. Russell pushed his craft closer despite the danger. If I can get this inside the tier itself. His craft shuddered as a Draconian weapon grazed it. Systems failed across his control panel, but he kept going. 75% deployed. Kate reported. Still not enough. Russell reached the edge of the tier. Up close, he could see through it into the strange dimension beyond. Swirling colors and impossible shapes filled his view. Somewhere in that chaos was the rest of the Draconian fleet, waiting to come through. "I'm taking it in," he announced, and pushed his damaged craft through the tear. The effect was immediate. The resonator, now inside the fold itself, amplified its effect 100-fold. The tier began to collapse, pulling the emerging Draconian ship back with it. All around Earth, the other tiers responded to the change in the energy field. They pulsed erratically, then began to shrink. "It's working," Kate shouted. "All tiers are destabilizing." The Draconian ships tried to retreat, but it was too late. The tiers collapsed inward, pulling the ships back into the fold dimension. Within minutes, they were all gone. Miller watched from the Defender as the last tier vanished, taking Russell with it. Space around Earth became quiet once more. "Did we do it?" Wilson asked softly. "Is it over?" Miller stared at the empty space where the tiers had been. "The connection is closed. For now." Peters nodded. "The resonators collapsed the fold from both sides. Even if the Draconians try again, they'd have to find a completely new way to reach us." Earth had survived again, but the cost had been high. And in the vast emptiness of space, Miller couldn't help but wonder if somewhere in some strange dimension, Russell was still alive, along with the Draconian fleet that seemed destined to be Earth's eternal enemy. As humanity looked to the stars, with new confidence, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never again underestimate the small blue planet that had twice defeated one of the most powerful forces in the universe. Earth was no longer just another world. It was a mystery, a power, a legend, and the legend was just beginning.